let's talk. Hey everybody, my name is Payton and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about our infertility update and kind of what's going on with that. So the last time I left off with you guys, I believe it was I went in for a pregnancy test because I was a few days late on my period, and when we got the pregnancy test back, it came back negative. And from then on, they said that they were going to prescribe me Provera, which is a medication that they use to force a period out because I had not gotten my period yet. And that's kind of where I left off. So from that on, I ended up not taking the Provera because we had so much going on here in Hawaii that I wasn't able to go to the hospital to go pick it up because we had a hurricane going on and they shut down the hospital only for emergencies and stuff like that. So I ended up getting my period. So when I got my period, Tyler and I talked about it and we decided the best thing for us right now is to try naturally, to let my body do its thing. In that last video, you could see the pain and the hurt on my face, my body movement, everything, because that failed cycle. So we talked about it and we decided that we were going to try naturally. And that month before, I believe that we did try naturally and it resulted in a negative test. So we decided, you know what, again, we're going to try it again because my body was able to ovulate. So that's what we decided to do. So when I got my period was 5 days long. And in this particular cycle, I had called the OBGYN to say, or to ask, hey, I got my period, can I come in for a follicle scan in the middle of my cycle to see if I have any eggs or any of that? They said yes. So I was so stoked and so excited. So fast forward 9 days after I got my period. So I'm on cycle day 9. Okay, so I'm on cycle day 9 of my period, and I had noticed very light cramping, which was odd because I've never had that before. And TMI, totally disgusting, but again, this is a part of the body. This is what can happen, and it does happen for some women. I had noticed a very thick, almost black discharge. On cycle day 10, I had my doctor's appointment for my follicle scan. So I am 10 days into my cycle. So on cycle days 14 and 15, or 14 through 16, in a normal cycle, that is when a woman ovulates. So I would assume that I would possibly be ovulating, that I would have eggs and everything. And I was excited. I thought, okay, my body ovulated on its own last cycle without medications and everything, my body can do the same thing. So I remember the day of my appointment, I was getting ready and my cramps have gotten significantly worse. So bad that I couldn't really even walk. I wanted to stay in the fetal position and I wanted to lay in bed, which is normal for my periods. I have very heavy periods and very, very painful periods. And the one that I had 10 days ago in the start of the new cycle, it was odd. I had no cramping. It was very medium to light, and it was just off compared to my normal cycles. So when I had went to the bathroom when I was getting ready to go to my appointment, I noticed I was bleeding as if I had a full-on period, and I freaked out because I just didn't know what was going on. So on my way to the doctor's, I got checked in and everything, and my doctor was asking me, oh, are you excited? Let's see how many follicles you have, let's see your eggs and everything. And everything from the bleeding was not in my mind. I was more so focused on okay, let's do this. Let's see how many eggs and follicles we have. Okay. So in the middle of the ultrasound, I had told her, I have been experiencing really weird and abnormal discharge and really weird and abnormal bleeding as if I am having a period. And she thought that that was very weird too. And she had also thought that maybe I was having a miscarriage, that maybe the results came back wrong because they've read me wrong results before, that maybe this was like, in a sense, a miscarriage. So she checked and everything was fine. No miscarriages, no nothing. But the one thing that she did notice that was extremely odd was in this ultrasound, I had no eggs. I had nothing in my ovaries. Like, they were dry. And it bummed me out. It hurt me because I'm in 10 days of my cycle and I don't have any eggs and I don't have any follicles, but yet a normal woman would. So that was like in the back of my head, and I'm thinking, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, like, why is this happening? Why? And I kind of like got emotional. So she talked to me about it. She brought another doctor in and they all looked at me and everything, and she recommended that I go in and get blood work done to see if my estrogen levels were high or low. And if they were low, that would mean that I'm starting my period. And that would be the beginning of my new cycle. And that the cycle that I had 10 days ago was just everything coming out of my body that needed to come out because my periods are so irregular, and I went 43 days without one. So got blood work done, and that's what came back. They came back that this bleeding that had happened at my appointment was the start of my new period, and that the one that I had before was just getting everything out. So her and the other doctor talked to me, and they really highly recommended that I begin taking medication again, because when your estrogen levels rises and your eggs are already developing on their own and everything, the medication really isn't going to help. That it's better to do it when they're low, so that when they first start to form and develop, that the medication is to help them stimulate the growth and to help them grow faster, compared to if they're already growing on their own, the medication isn't going to really do anything. So I was kind of hesitant because Tyler and I really wanted to just not do it, but they recommended that this is what's best. So I talked to my doctor, and that's when she prescribed me the Gonal F stimulating shots, and then letrozole. So I took letrozoles from day 3 through 7, and then on day 7 I took a letrozole pill, and then I did my shots. So I had asked her about the percentage of doing this hybrid or this cocktail of medications of my chances of getting pregnant. And she said because I had already done 4 medicated cycles, that this would most likely be the one that gets me pregnant, because the more and more you do it, the higher the chances of you are getting pregnant. And especially if you are doing shots as well. The shots, I don't know the science behind it or any of that, but the shots really help you become pregnant because they produce more eggs and they make the eggs bigger, compared to if you're just on medication, like the oral medication. It really helps with like maybe 1 or 2, while on the shots it creates more. And that's also the reason why there's a higher risk of having multiples while you're on shots. I mean, you can have multiples on really any medication or even naturally, but with the help of extra shots and extra medications, your chances of increasing multiples, your chances of having multiples increase. So we talked about it and everything, and I said, okay, yeah, let's do it. The one thing that she did tell me was, if we do these 3 times, the hybrid with the shots and the medication, that after 3 times, that is our chance, and that is when they recommend doing IVF. IVF is where they would take eggs out of myself. I'd be doing a lot more medications in this process to get eggs and to form more eggs, and then they would take eggs from me, and then they would fertilize them in a dish, and then put them back into me already fertilized and just waiting for them to implant. And that is way more expensive than what we're doing now. I believe Tyler and I pay out of pocket for only the wash for the IUI. So that's $75. And I asked her, because IVF is so expensive and most insurances don't cover it, that like what would be covered through our insurance, since we do have a military insurance. And she told me that the only things that would be covered are the medications, the ultrasounds, and the doctor's appointments. Other than that, The egg retrieval, the storage of the eggs, and the actual procedure itself is what we would pay out of pocket, and we'd be looking close to $7,000 to $10,000, which is a lot. And props to anybody who does IVF and has the money to do it. It's amazing, and your chances of conceiving are so much higher than IUI. And for me, that was a huge realization that, shit, if this doesn't work, these 3 shots, and we have to move on to IVF, we either have to save, which we do, but we're gonna have to put more into savings for this, or we're gonna have to take out a loan for this, or ask people to help us. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to have to do any of that. And just the thought of even thinking of putting, for one cycle, $7,000 to $10,000 into something that may or may not work, then we're down $7,000 to $10,000, and we have to go from the beginning. And that's heartbreaking in itself, because we don't want to put ourselves into debt, and we don't want to put ourselves into that kind of situation where we don't have the money, so we don't do it, or if we do have the money and we do it and it doesn't work and then we're out that money. Like, it's not refundable. They're not, just because we didn't get pregnant, they're not gonna be like, okay, yeah, here's your money back, try it again until it works. Like, that's just not how that works. So for me, it's a huge thing to take into consideration, and it's just a lot of stress. So onto the medications and what we've done. We did do that and everything. We did the medication and the shots, and we went in for my ultrasound to see the growth of the follicles. On the left side, I had 4 follicles. 3 of them were less than 10 millimeters, and 1 was ranging around 10 to 11, which is small. Normally a perfect egg, or a normal size egg, ready to be ovulated and fertilized and everything, ranges around 18 to like 23 to 24 millimeters, and that one was at 10 and then less than 10. On the right, we had one that was 17. So that one was perfect. We did a day or 2 more of the shots to help the growth of it, and then we triggered and we tried naturally for this cycle. The reason why we did it naturally was because Tyler's work schedule, again, is so hectic, and that poor man, we talked about this yesterday. We were talking about like my work hours and like my work week and like his work hours and his work week. And I was telling him, yeah, I just worked like 15 hours last week. And he was like, do you want to know how many hours that I worked last week? And he told me he worked 150 hours. And just the thought of that hurts me for him, because I know he wishes that he had more time to put aside for this, and I know he wishes that he had more time for any of it, but because his work schedule is so rough on him and like so hard and so exhausting, that in a sense we have to take into consideration that we do have the medications, and that maybe the best thing for us to do is to try naturally, instead of driving all the way into Honolulu, which is about 30 minutes away from us, with traffic maybe, waiting a couple hours to do the wash, and then driving back to do the hospital, which is 30 minutes, to do the procedure. And again, it's going to cost us money, which is $75, which is a lot better than $7,000 to $10,000, but still, it's a lot to take into consideration, and the fact that he may or may not get that time off of work to do this. So we decided that we wanted to try naturally, because again, our source of infertility isn't bad or not good eggs. Like, we have perfect eggs. His sperm count is great. His mobility in his sperm is great. Like, everything is great. We just don't know when I ovulate. So we did that, and we were in our 2-week wait, and my doctor was so positive and so encouraging that this is gonna work. This is gonna work. Like, I know it. And yeah, it's like, it boosted up my confidence. Yeah, it made me feel better, and I started to think, maybe this is it. Maybe this is gonna happen. And when we decided to test, I tested, which, by the way, before I go into that, whenever I am to do medicated cycles, I always test on like the first day, and I know I'm gonna get a false positive because of my trigger shot that contains the HCG hormone. And I test out my trigger shot, and I always pray and always hope that I see the line from my trigger shot getting lighter and lighter and lighter, but I hope that it gets darker and darker and darker as I see it get lighter. And for me, this cycle, it was so completely different. My mindset was so completely different, and I felt positive, and I felt happy, and I felt joyed, and it was just amazing to feel that for once doing medications. It was just nice. It was nice to not have that thought in the back of my head telling me, go spend money on a test, go spend money on a test, or like, go do this, like paranoid yourself over it. And I didn't touch a test until I had to test. And that's what made me also think that I was pregnant, because I wasn't thinking about it. I was so clear mind in this cycle. But when I ended up testing, I tested a day before I was supposed to. So I would have gotten a positive regardless if it was still my HCG shot, which it normally leaves my system around 10 to 11 days. If I were to get a positive, it would have been an actual positive, because I would be getting my period the next day. So I tested and it was negative, and I was okay, and I was fine, and I didn't freak out, and I didn't cry until other things started to happen, and I started to see other things, and it started to really bring my mood down. And that's the one thing with infertility that I absolutely hate, is that anything for me is triggering. Anything I hear or see or anything is just so triggering, because in the back of my mind, I wish that was me. I wish that was me that got the actual positive pregnancy test, and I wish that was me that had that feeling of like seeing a pregnancy test and being like, oh shit, like I'm gonna have a baby. And it just sucks because it's not me, and we've done so many things, and we've done everything right, and we've done it by the book, and nothing has changed, and nothing has happened. We've had positive comments and results come back from tests and everything, but ultimately the main thing we haven't gotten a positive outcome from, and it's just hard. So a lot of things built up to a complete mental breakdown. It was my emotions hitting me at once, seeing things that I didn't not necessarily like want to see, but things that I was just like jealous about, and things that I just thought like that can be me, and that could be me, and that could be us, and it's not. And just other things that like family and friends and stuff, and I just had this complete mental breakdown, and I was like crying all morning, all day. Like my eyes were swollen the whole day. My eyes burned the whole day from crying, and it was just a complete mess. And that's when Tyler and I decided that, you know what, maybe medication right now is just not the best thing for us. It's messing with my mood, it's messing with my mental health. And I thought maybe this time around going into it that I would have a better mindset, and I'd have a head on my shoulders, and I'd be stronger and just feel better, which in a sense I did, but then the aftermath of it was not that. And Tyler and I talked about it too, like we can't afford IVF. There's no way in hell right now that we can afford it, unless if we put out and take out a loan for it, or ask friends and family for money, which we would never even do in the first place. But like those are options that like we talked about, like that's how badly we would want a baby, and that's off the table anyways, because it's just so expensive and we don't have the money for that. And we talked about our adoptions, like we want to adopt. That is something that we absolutely 100% want to do. So we looked into like adoption agencies and like the requirements of adoption, and we would love to do it, but we also think that if somebody were to even consider us for adoption for their baby, we don't think we would get it, because who's going to give a child to a couple of 22-year-old adults? for me in particular, if I were to ever do that, like if I wasn't in this situation and I got pregnant and I didn't think I could have a baby, I wouldn't give my child to a 22-year-old couple. I would look for somebody who's more like in their 30s and have us at home and the white picket fence and everything, which in a sense we have, but we're just so young, and he's in the military and we'll be moving and moving and moving, and it's just so many things to take into consideration. We also thought about the fact that we've done everything correct and we've done everything by the books, and everything we could have done, we did. And we haven't gotten pregnant, so maybe they like read us the wrong, like not the wrong test, but like maybe they did our tests wrong or didn't look at our tests correctly, and like they misdiagnosed us with something, or maybe it is my eggs, or maybe it is his sperm. Like, why haven't we gotten pregnant yet? And it's already 6 cycles in. And just so many things have just gone into our heads, and we think about it, and so many things could be options, and things could have actually happened that we just don't know. And it sucks, but ultimately we decided that we're not going to do medication right now, that we're completely cutting it off and we're letting my body do its thing. And if that means that I don't get a period in 50 days, or if I don't get a period in 30 days, or if I don't ovulate, then I don't. Like, that's that. Like, and it's hard for me to even say that, and it's hard for me to come to a realization that that's something that I have to accept. That's something that I have to, because that's my body. Like, my body is capable of doing it, but my body's just a little bit more off, and that's fine. But I look at it as my mental health, my relationship with my husband, my relationship with my friends and my family, and the fact that my whole life is revolved around getting pregnant right now is just, that's not healthy for anybody that I'm around. It's toxic, and I just don't want that. I don't want to put a strain on my marriage, which we don't, but I don't want that to happen, and I don't want to make myself sick, and I don't want to put myself in a distress over this, because I know it's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen whether we actually end up doing IVF, or if I get pregnant on my own, or if we adopt, or if we get a surrogate. Like, I know it's gonna happen. I don't know when, but I know it's going to. But I just have to realize that right now maybe it just isn't the best time. Right now, just, it's not something that I don't think God is planning for me, because maybe I'm just so focused on it right now that I am shutting down my body, that I'm stressing my body over this, and my body's not producing eggs because I'm overly obsessed with trying to get pregnant. And that maybe this is just a sign from God that I need to chill, and like I need to relax. And again, it's so incredibly hard for me to say this, but it's the truth. Like, I just don't know what else to say. So that's kind of where we stand. It's more so my mental health and me getting out of the house and finding a hobby, or giving 120% dedication into my job, or 150% into my family, such as Tyler and our pets and our families, and just focus on little things instead of trying to get pregnant. Again, it's not that we're giving up or anything. It's just, this is like a much needed thing. I didn't think going into it like this it would be so hard and so difficult and so draining, but it is. And I definitely know that now. And Tyler's been an amazing support system, being by my side through it and helping me and just like loving me. I can't tell you enough how grateful I am for that man, because he is my absolute rock, and I would just do anything for him. And I just appreciate him on a whole new level for even staying by me through this. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. It sucks, and this is our life. I wish in a sense it could be different, but at the same time I don't, because if it wasn't like this, I wouldn't even be as strong as I am right now. I don't wish it never happened. I just wish it wasn't so hard. But yeah, that's pretty much it, what's going on fertility wise. So we'll keep you updated, let you know if anything happens or if we do get pregnant on our own and if my body can keep up. So until then, I will see you guys next time. Bye.